Thank you so much, Sheena. Thank you so much, Jean-Jacques. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. कैसे हैं आप लोग, if I may ask? है ना? मतलब बंगाली बोल नहीं पाती मैं ज़्यादा. सिर्फ एक चीज़ आती है मुझे, तोमार नाम की. Because I ask the little children that question all the time. That's the only thing I know, Tomar naam ki. And Rasgulla. Sabse important. This has been one of my most life-changing trips that I have made along with UNICEF. I've had the incredible good fortune of working and being associated with UNICEF, which is an organization that doesn't care about the history, the geography, the physicality, anything of a child except the fact that it's a child. And every child deserves a future, and every child deserves an opportunity to contribute to humanity. And I think that I find myself extremely privileged that I can take UNICEF's message to the world and actually be a means to an end. When I went to the Rohingya camps, and now I have spent about 4 days in Cox's Bazar, and I've also been to refugee camps, other refugee camps around the world. And the one thing that I the one thing that I take back here, I spent a lot of time with very young children, 5, 7, 8. I'll tell you a few stories. Take? Okay. I'll tell you a few stories. There was a 7-year-old child. They were all sitting and drawing, like with colors in this one learning center that UNICEF has created in the middle of these camps. And I'm sure you all know what these camps look like more than me, how unstable they are, how the conditions are extremely difficult, and especially now with the monsoon coming up, it's very difficult that any of those structures will survive. So these children, they were drawing. So I went and asked, can I see some of your drawings? So I picked up the drawing book, and I was looking back at the drawings that he had done before. When they arrived into Cox's Bazar, which was about August, September last year, when the big influx of refugees from Myanmar came into Bangladesh, him and his family had walked for about 15 days, and all his drawings were children playing soccer on a football field and helicopters spraying bullets at them, rocket launchers, and these are 5, 6-year-old children, rocket launchers being launched at their homes, heads lying separate, bodies lying separate, hands lying separate. Now these are children at 5, 6, 7. That's what they remember. That's what they know. I had the incredible opportunity and good fortune of meeting Honorable Prime Minister today, the Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh today, and we spent a lot of time talking about this. And I really, really have to applaud the government of Bangladesh, who has opened up their borders and allowed so many refugees to come in, almost 1 million people that Bangladesh has allowed inside, just because of humanity. And humanity is what this world needs the most. I don't care about differences anymore. When you look at, and now that I have been to 2 of the biggest refugee camps in the world, one which was in Jordan, where Syrian refugees lived for about 7 years now, and then now to the Rohingya camps in Cox's Bazar, the only thing I can see is a generation of children that will not have education, that will be illiterate, that will be vulnerable to violence, people putting guns in their hands instead of pens. What will happen to the world when there's a huge generation of children that become vulnerable to violence? The world is already in a precarious place. Look at the amount of violence that is happening around the world. Do we need any more hatred? Do we need any more of that? To me, as a global community, the message that I want to take from these camps is that refugee children are the world's responsibility because they don't have anywhere to go. They don't have anything to call their own. But if we lose these children, then whatever happens to the world is on us. Let me ask you all a question. How many of you have kids? Please raise your hands. No? Nobody has kids over there at the back? That's half the room, almost. More than half the room. I don't. Not yet. But that's a very smart question. Sir, did you ask me if I have children? If I have children? Or you're not aware that I don't have children? All the children that I work with are my children. How about that? All right, good to know. How many do you have? You have two. Would you, if something like this happened to our children, which is possible, countries are being bombed, people are being killed for no reason. If that happened to your children, will you want someone to help them? That's the same question. A child is a child. It doesn't matter where they come from, where they're going, what their parents did, what their religion is, which country they come from. A child is a child, and every child born onto this earth is the responsibility of the globe and privileged global citizens like us. So the reason why I take these trips is to spread this message to the world, to be a little compassionate, to think about our future and the future of our children through the eyes of these kids. They have nothing. The basic things that a child needs do not have a stunted development. Food, clean water, so that they don't get cholera or diarrhea or die because of malnutrition. Shelter during monsoons and cyclones. You know how many cyclone shelters you have in Bangladesh, because we know what happens during monsoon season. I'm from India. I know what happens. What happens to those shacks and those makeshift homes? Just the compassion in your heart. This is not the choice of the kids. Nothing is the choice of the children. And for me, that is my biggest advocacy, is that please open your hearts and your compassion towards the kids. What was really wonderful to see, I was telling you the story, and this boy's name is Mansoor Ali, by the way. He was 7 years old, who was drawing these drawings of, soccer fields being bombed and bullets being sprayed at them. After 6 months of spending time with UNICEF's learning centers, with the teachers that spend time in teaching them English, maths, Burmese, basic education so that they can maybe stand on their own feet a little bit. 6 months later, his drawings were Bangladesh. His drawings were sunshine, greenery, thatched roofs, teachers. And that just happened in 6 months because there was humanity shown to them. And that's what's important for refugee children around the world. In 1 month, World Refugee Day happens. And I would really, really like to implore the world to have a little bit of compassion for people who don't have anything. That's all that it is. God has given us, many of us, a lot. My mother used to always tell me, actually I'll make the point like that no matter where you are in the world, no matter how badly you are off, no matter how in the worst circumstances that you're in, someone is worse off than you in the world. And if we remember that, there is such a sense of balance that will come to us. And that's all that I'm trying to do. I've had an incredibly heart-wrenching trip, and at the same time an extremely inspiring trip. To see the way the government of Bangladesh has opened up its hearts towards these refugee children and towards these refugees was incredible to see. The spirit of these young children, how strong they are, how tough they are, how much fun they have with me. We played lots of games. I had tea made by the children. I was dancing with them. I witnessed one of the classes. I played with them. And the one thing that I really took back were their shiny eyes and their smiles, And just to see a child happy can make any one of us really happy. And I just think that is an extremely wonderful thing, that all the organizations that have come together on field, especially UNICEF, have done such incredible work. And there's so much more to be done, which is why we are all here. asking before the monsoons to please donate your time, your money, your compassion. I know we all have. And now it's just the responsibility of the world to also do that. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Priyanka Chopra, for your...
I'm here on behalf of children. I'm too small, I feel, to speak about political situations like this, or maybe not as aware. But I would only like to speak about... I'm not someone who believes in a blame game. I think that creates more hatred and more animosity. I would rather look at the future and see that instead of focusing on the violence of the past and responding with anger or hatred, I think it's important to focus on the future of these kids and put our positivity in that direction. That's what I would like to say.
In green?
All I have seen is love in Bangladesh since I have come. Everyone that I have met, whether it was the children, whether it was the people, whether it was the security, the police, whether it was the Prime Minister, whether it is all of you, so far, I have only seen the mithas of Bangladesh so far, and I just felt that I wasn't expecting anything to be... I wasn't afraid because I didn't expect anyone to scare me. All the children wanted to do was give me hugs, and I like getting children hugs.
We will go to a question from the lady in the...
Concerned about is when right now the future of these children is in perpetual limbo, and none of us can predict what will happen. You and I are normal people. We are not, heads of states or political leaders where we can make those kind of changes, but we can contribute our time, our money, our compassion to humanity. And to me, my biggest concern is that too. That's exactly what I said. That with the refugee crisis around the world, and not just the Rohingya camps, the biggest worry is this generation of children that will not have access to education, will not have access to being able to take the evolution of human beings forward, to add to the evolution of this world. And that is a big and grave concern.
The gentleman on the side here.
Giving personally.
No, you were asking for your message.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're right, this is a political problem, and we don't have the answers to the political problems because we don't have those powers. But as human beings, we have the ability. No donation is small. Not even, no donation. Whatever you feel in your heart, whatever you can do. Little babies are fed small packets of ready-to-eat peanut butter paste, which has 500 calories each, so that they're not malnutritioned. That costs nothing. Nothing. Even if you give a little bit of money, it can buy about 3 or 4 or 5 weeks worth of food for one child. Now you have taken care of at least one child. And even that is enough. Imagine if each one of us gives just a little bit of that money. Whether it is money, whether it is advocacy, whether it is time. Nobody wants... I think that is what I'm imploring the people to do. Help foundations like UNICEF provide aid to these places. I'm not saying that people have to uproot their lives, go into these camps and themselves take care of the refugees. Nobody is asking you to do that. All I'm asking is to help the organizations that are actually on ground providing aid, which are so many of them. In the 7 months that these refugees have been here, the kind of improvements that I have seen, there's a cholera vaccination that has happened to almost every refugee in the camp, which I know of. There is health care which is being provided to them, or places for women when they've had babies, newborn babies, how to take care of them. There is so much in terms of help that is happening, but it is not enough. Monsoons are coming. And you know what happens around this part of the world when monsoons happen. Imagine those thatch huts with those newborn babies and those children living in there. That's it. That's all we are imploring the world to have, just compassion towards people who don't have anything.
If I may, Priyanka did visit the host communities around the camps. And as you know, the host communities were extremely welcoming when the crisis started almost a year ago. part of our programming is going towards the host communities, because we know very much that we need to keep this environment free of any sort of issues that could happen. So therefore, we build schools in near host communities. We build a health post. We have vaccination campaigns in the host communities as well. So this is extremely important for you to know as well. It's about the Rohingya children and their families, but it's also about the host communities, which play an essential role in the cohesion of this environment.
Actually, I really want to applaud that a little bit. It was so wonderful to see. By host community, he means the local Bangla people who live around the camps. It was so wonderful to see the kind of aid that was being given to the Rohingya children, being given to the children of to the host communities too, which was really, really wonderful to see with UNICEF providing that, and you should really know that. That was amazing.
Yes, a question in the center there.
Thank you. Priyanka, I would like to know very precise.
Of children all over the world.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, though you are the Prime Minister of Children, can you urge the Indian government to put pressure on Myanmar for end this crisis?
I think that's such an incredibly smart question. You're definitely Bengali. Such a backward entry. When I went and met the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister today, she gave me a gift, books of her father's. And on that was a card which said, Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. As soon as I have a card which said Prime Minister of Children Priyanka Chopra, I'll talk to the government. I'm also as smart as you.
All right. Let's see who else wants to attempt to ask a question related to Priyanka's visit to the camps. That would be very nice of you. Let me make an attempt. I've been so much on this side. I was wondering if there was any question on that side. And I see so many quiet ladies. If the ladies would have...
What concerns me is... it makes me sad that we are dividing children. That we can project hate on children who have done nothing. And that is the wrong message. And I will not stand for a wrong message. All the children in the world matter, because they will contribute to the future of this world that you and I live in. And tomorrow, when something goes wrong with your child's future or your child's future, don't look back and blame someone else, because it'll be our fault. So I care about the future of this world, and you should too.
Thank you very much, Priyanka. I see one hand over there.
It is a self-funded foundation right now. We've not made it public because at the moment it was very personal to me. Educating children from that is very, again, that's a big cause that is important to me. So we educate about 80 something kids at the moment, who all I know. And this foundation is like a little bit of my baby. I haven't really been able to spend too much time to build it. But my foundation doesn't need to do anything because I am. And that's bigger than my foundation. My foundation is very small. But I've spent about 18 years in the industry, and I think my contribution to the lives of children around the world will be a lot more than my little foundation right now. But hopefully, my foundation will be big enough someday to be able to help children around the world. Right now, we are at 80 plus. That's also good. How many children have you helped? One is good. One is also good. Even one is enough. At least one.
The gentleman in blue in the front.
Hello.
Hello. I'm Nadim Mahmood from DBC News Television. I have a question, that is, do you have any plans to share your experience with the Indian governments?
This is the fourth time this question has come up to me. I think you really want an answer. to this, and I don't know what else of an answer to give you. I'm not a politician. I am a UN Goodwill Ambassador, UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador. I'm an actor, I'm a producer. You can ask me if I'll make a film on it someday, I could probably answer that, but I cannot shake I'm not a politician, I'm the wrong person to answer that question. You could probably speak to the Bangladeshi government as much as I could speak to the Indian government.
Thank you.
It reminds me of some of the questions I had at the very beginning of the crisis about who to blame all the time. It was about who is responsible. And I kept on saying, and I remember I gave over 200 interviews to the international press, Bangladesh has been extraordinary. Bangladesh has opened its doors to the crisis, to thousands and thousands of refugees and children. This is recommendable. You have to know, you have to recognize the fact that your country has done an amazing
Incredible
human thing.
and they have, so far, my intention as a producer has been to give opportunities to new talent. All my directors so far have been new directors that I have launched, a lot of new actors. So maybe if I write a story someday, I could write it out of my inspiration from my experiences with UNICEF, but at the moment I am giving opportunities to other people to tell their stories as a producer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take one more question from the lady over there and then from the man.
Yeah. UNICEF works a lot with neonatal care and newborn babies that are born. They teach a lot of there's a big crisis of child marriage that also happens. And I think that UNICEF has been working really, really hard to show these young mothers how to take care of their babies, how to feed them, what the correct position is, how much nutrition they need to get, in terms of hygiene, healthcare. These are basic fundamental things that I noticed were missing. And UNICEF has worked, and their volunteers and their employees have worked really, really tirelessly with so many women. I've gone to women-friendly spaces, and there are about, how many are there in the camp? About 80, 85? There are a lot of women-friendly spaces, which are such a wonderful concept. So most of these women, the entire time during the day, they sit within their homes, they cook, they clean, and they don't have much to do because it's also a very conservative culture. But when they go into these women-friendly spaces where no men are allowed, they are singing, they are dancing, they are embroidering, they are sewing, and at the same time they take their children there, the children are playing with each other, and the center opens at 9 o'clock, but these women are lining up from like 7 because they feel like the 2 hours or 3 hours that they spend there are a house of peace is what they called it. So I think these organizations, especially UNICEF, is doing so much groundwork to work with young mothers to take care of their very, very young children and older kids for that matter.
And just to add a bit, because I think Priyanka said it beautifully, but also to add that, you know, these women are also in need of healing. They've been through a lot of pain of loss of their homes, loss of their children, loss in the child-friendly space, and what they do to heal that trauma. It's the same thing for these women. In addition to the services which are physical, it is also the services which are mental and which are for their psychosocial well-being. Because one thing we...
Thank you, ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please clear the passage?